Hello and welcome to the Empowering Family Caregivers Show. Today is June 3rd and we are very excited to talk about nutrition for the first time on the show. And my name is Susan Baida. I'm the co-founder and host of this show. I'm the co-founder of eCareDiary.com. We have with us a very special guest, Adriane Berg. Adriane and I have known each other for quite some time, I think since our beginnings.
Right.
Adriane's been doing this quite some time. Adriane is the CEO of a firm called Generation Bold, which is an international consulting firm serving the healthcare and the successful aging markets. She is also the national keynoter for the USA Today retirement seminars and the author of 13 books. You've been very busy.
Very busy. It's been a long time. Started in 1980, so
wow.
Had time to do it.
She is also the co-founder and president of Boomer Authority Radio Network.
Okay.
And last but not least, as if she's not busy enough, she is the marketing consultant and national spokesperson for Golden Cuisine that is devoted to providing nutritious cuisine to older adults. And that's mostly the subject of this show,
absolutely.
Is how to ensure that our elders, particularly if they're suffering from different diseases, are getting optimal nutrition. You can learn more about Adriane on her website at www.adrianeberg.com. I'll spell that out for you. ADRIANEBERG.com. Welcome, Adriane.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you. And so you've been doing so many different things, but let's hone in on nutritional requirements for older adults, and for and how it's different for the general population. Tell us about that and what you're doing with Golden Cuisine.
Well, Golden Cuisine, and I will give them the website too. It's goldencuisine.com. They were part of ConAgra, and there was a brand called Golden Cuisine specifically for the older adult. And it was basically a neglected brand because people didn't realize the importance of nutrition for older adults as opposed to nutrition for everyone else.
Right.
And they took that brand, separated it into a standalone company, and now it is the fastest growing food company on Inc. 100. Now,
Congratulations. Wow.
it is amazing. Now, well, what's the difference? Well, first of all, part of it is portions. One of the things that we learn is that older adults actually need more food, not less food. Another thing is sodium. Sodium is a killer. It's a killer depending on certain types of hypertension that you might have, cardio issues, but it's also a killer in combination with certain kinds of medications that older people have.
Right.
So the issues of combining medications with conditions that an older person might have make a very, very big difference. And that's one of the majors. The last one that a lot of people forget is that as we age, we don't see as well, we don't hear as well, we also don't taste as well.
Right.
And you might have a situation where everybody's around the table and you're having a great time and the food tastes delicious and there's mom or pop opening up the salt shaker and pouring it on.
Yeah.
Now the reason they're doing that is not because they like salt, it's because they can't taste the food. So you have to be able to do things that spice up food for taste. And what a lot of people see when they leave an older adult and come back and they're
Right.
a caregiver is that that older adult has lost weight.
What's one of the reasons why they lose taste? Is the sort of deterioration of the taste buds?
It's the same as it is. It's
Yeah.
our five senses.
Yeah.
And probably touch may be the one that they do not lose. And
Right.
we just sent out a bulletin actually to about 5,000 people that are in the field of aging to touch an older person.
Yeah.
Very frequently an older person doesn't get touched at all, even by their loved ones,
Right.
because their loved ones feel fear,
Right.
or they just don't want to feel an old bone, an old body in a mom that took care of them.
Right.
So they stop touching them, and of the five senses, the sense of touch is the one that's the most stable throughout your whole life.
I see.
But taste does disappear. The other thing that happens with an older adult in food is that it doesn't look good. You go to the hospital, they give you a dish of food, even if it was the most delicious thing,
Right.
it looks horrible.
Right.
You buy something in the supermarket, and it's given to you in a tray.
Right.
Or you've got a trimmer, and
Right.
all of a sudden you can't eat on the beautiful china that's yours.
Right.
So we always say, and if you go to restaurants and people who are in the field of food, they'll tell you that taste starts with the eyes.
Right.
So if a plate doesn't look good,
Right.
it's not going to taste good.
Right.
And that's the other problem. So at Golden Cuisine, they have a campaign to replate, teaching caregivers how to replate food, even if they're visiting somebody in the hospital. You don't have to bring in bad food that you're not allowed to have. You can take the same food, put it on a plate in a certain way. It will actually taste better, not just look better, but it'll taste better.
Oh, that's really fascinating.
Yes, it does.
So I'm really also very curious about this subject of mixing medications and different food combinations, right? Because we all know that medication misuse is a huge issue.
Yes.
So that in combination with the wrong food. So I mean, you're saying that there's an issue out there.
There's a connection.
Tell us about that.
Well, grapefruit, juices that are highly acidic.
Right.
Some of these already are contraindicated. If you have a good pharmacist, they'll all tell you when
Right.
you go, don't have grapefruit with this.
Right.
Now, by and large, what it really is you don't want to have it within 2 hours.
Okay.
So it's not always that you can never eat a grapefruit for the rest of your life because you're on Plavix.
Right.
But you have to be very careful. Sometimes the best thing a caregiver can do
Right.
is ask. Ask the pharmacist, say, is there any foods we shouldn't have? Is it contraindicated? If somebody...
Wow, I would never think about that, actually. I mean, I think the first thing I would think about would be what medications should I be aware of,
Right.
not to combine whatever is being prescribed. But wow, that's
well, one of the
a
things,
great question.
One of the things we do, and we hope everybody will get it, we have a free newsletter that we've created for Golden Cuisine, and it's called Redefining Senior Dining. And it's just downloadable at goldencuisine.com. You can get it at any time.
Great.
We publish it quarterly.
Okay.
And it has a list of those foods. Another thing that happens with older people who are not homebound is they go to restaurants.
Right.
They bring the food home in a doggy bag because the portions are much too big for them.
Right.
And they leave the doggy bag on the counter. Food safety is a huge problem with an older adult.
I would imagine. Yeah.
And if you're going home and to visit mom or dad and you see that they have pizza, they've ordered pizza, and there's cold pizza in a box sitting there, they do not know that really shelf life of restaurant food without refrigeration is also about 2 hours.
Oh wow.
And it may be there for 2 days.
Oh my God.
So that's
okay.
yeah, because an older person is often very thrifty.
Yeah.
They're not going to want to throw the food out.
Of course not.
So what do you want to do? You want to give them a gift
Right.
of Tupperware, of some kind of other thing that's sealed,
Right.
maybe one of the sealers. So if you have a mom or dad that really does go out to restaurants,
Yeah.
try to ask them, what do they do with their food when they take home?
Right.
They'll tell you, and then you can keep it safer for them.
Yeah. So I'm hearing we're really needing to be vigilant about the way our elders, particularly if they're suffering from chronic illnesses or if they're forgetful, to just really be mindful of their nutritional
Very important.
habits and their needs. Now, you talk about something called the Food Life Review. So how do caregivers conduct a food life review?
Well, a lot of people, and on eCareDiary you often have life reviews, memory discussions, and sometimes what happens when you're with an older adult is you don't know what to talk about. You're comfortable with them, but even if it's a parent, certainly if it's a stranger or you're a friendly visitor, what can you talk about that's going to engage them at the same level and at the same time engage you? And food is one of those things. And everybody's got these great recipes where
Right.
they had a home recipe that maybe was handed down to them by mom or dad. These recipes can be 100 years old.
Right.
And we have a cookbook called Golden Cuisine Cookbook. The food, I cannot tell you whether it's healthy. It probably isn't. I can't even tell you if you followed the recipes, if it really would come out.
Right.
But what we have at goldencuisinedirect.com, goldencuisinecookbook.com,
Yeah.
I should say, is a place that you can post recipes that your loved ones tell you about.
Right.
For those that are good recipes, you save it forever.
Right.
Because then you don't say, gee, I wish I could taste Mom's cookie, because you know how
Right.
to make it.
Right.
And talk to them not just about the recipe, but when do they eat the food?
Right.
How did they learn this recipe? Who is there? And you're going to learn things that happened in the 1940s and the 1950s, 60s, 30s.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun. It's a culinary life review.
Right.
And it is just like any other life review, but only around food.
Wow.
See, if my kids ask me, since I've never cooked anything in my life, I will have a restaurant life review. And it would go that way. So that's goldencuisinecookbook.com.
Okay. Well, thank you for sharing that. And you mentioned that we can post recipes on.
Yes,
Yeah.
it tells you exactly how to conduct the review,
Okay.
how to speak to an older person in a way that isn't patronizing, but which they can understand.
Right.
How to be clear that they do understand you.
Yeah.
How to open the conversation, and we also show you how to write a recipe, because what are they going to tell you? A pinch of salt,
Right.
right? This much flour, right? It's
Right,
going to be this
right.
much. So we give you an idea of how much is this much?
Right.
How much
right.
does a pinch mean?
Right. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness. Well, so the Golden Cuisine cookbook is you're collecting recipes
Yes,
for that,
yes.
and well, that's
Yeah,
very
that's
exciting.
And when we get about 100 recipes, we have about 25, 35 recipes.
Yeah.
When we have 100, we will publish it, and we won't be making money on it, but any donations will go to Alzheimer's Foundation group called Dining with Friends. And
Oh,
that
wonderful.
is an encouragement for people with Alzheimer's to eat in a social setting.
Wonderful. This is Dining with Friends. This is a nonprofit.
Part of the Alzheimer's Foundation. Yeah.
Fantastic. Wonderful. I love hearing about new initiatives by foundations like that. And certainly eating with others is very,
It is
very important. I mean, being with others and socializing and being engaged. And what better way to do that than with
Yeah.
food,
Yeah.
right?
So Generation Bold, which is my company, one of the things we love about our field,
Yes.
which is marketing to the older adult boomer and caregiver, is the coalitions.
Yes.
The coalitions between the private sector and the not-for-profit sector, and even the government,
Yes.
that we can bring together. That's really enhances the caregiver quality of life and also the care recipient's quality of life.
Right. Well, wonderful. And so thank you very much
Thank
for
you. It was wonderful.
being here today. And on a last note, I think you mentioned in your newsletter for Golden Cuisine that people can sign up pretty easily on the goldencuisine.com website.
Of course,
right?
everything is free.
Right.
And all you have to do, you can also go to goldencuisinecookbook.com, and you will also get the newsletter,
Great.
as well as the cookbook, as well as the tutorials,
Terrific.
including a video on how to replate the food so that it looks
Wonderful.
wonderful.
Wonderful. So you know where to go,
you go.
goldencuisine.com or
goldencuisinecookbook.com. Either way.
Wonderful. And your website is adrianeberg.com.
And generationbold.com.
GenerationBold.com.
Generation Bold.
Well, it's been such a pleasure having you here today, Adriane. You look impeccable as always in this very warm heat here in New York City. Thank you for joining us this Friday, and thank you all, audience, and tune in next Friday at 2 o'clock live. Take care.